about protesters being here, or is that
We're not protesting. This is performance art.
This is performance art.
Yes, thank you.
What, as performance art, what is it supposed to mean or say?
Hey guys, leave some signs out and say no more money.
So, sir, you're a neighbor of the justices, or of Justice Amy Coney Barrett, correct?
I am.
And how do you feel about the protesters coming to your neighborhood?
It's none of their business. Why are they here?
Do you think it's inappropriate for them to protest in front of the House?
Of course it is.
Do they have the right to protest, or should they be going
Yeah, they
somewhere
have the
else?
right to protest, but not in front of someone's house. They live here. This is where she lives.
Absolutely. So, do you have anything to say to the protesters?
Just what I just said. They shouldn't be doing this. Go home and get a family.
What are Democrats going to achieve by losing this vote?
Why is today's vote significant?
Alright guys, so as you just saw there, that is Amy Coney Barrett's neighbor telling the mob that is showing up to her house to protest the Supreme Court potentially overruling Roe v. Wade that they need to get a family, right? He was very eloquent and straight to the point, right? Get a family. And I would like to add to that, also get a job, okay? Because it seems like every single time these leftists are upset, they're out in the streets in the middle of the day protesting, okay? And I don't understand how you have time to do that if you actually have a real job. But again, most of these people don't have real jobs, okay? They're unemployed, they're living off the government, right? Which is why they're voters of the Democrat Party, okay? Because they simply don't believe in working for a living, right? And they also don't believe in family, okay? Because of what they're protesting about, okay? They're protesting because the Supreme Court is going to make the issue of abortion a state issue, in which they believe that that is a service that should happen on demand. Because again, they don't believe in families, right? That is why they're out there, okay? So they don't want to get a family. If they had a family, again, they wouldn't be there. So with that being said, these activist extremists aren't just trying to pressure the Supreme Court into not overturning Roe v. Wade. They're also trying to pressure the Democrat Party, who has endorsed trying to intimidate judges, by the way, right? That's become an official part of the Democrat Party platform, intimidation of federal judges. But they're also trying to pressure the Democrat Party into codifying Roe v. Wade into law, basically using the legislative branch of the federal government to make Roe v. Wade actually the law of the land, right? Instead of what it was before, which was just a judicial decision, right? And the Democrats tried to do just that. Unfortunately, that effort failed in the Senate last night as Joe Manchin and the Republicans voted against the Democrats' effort to make Roe v. Wade the actual law of the land. And the Democrats obviously weren't too happy about that because they have to try to appeal to the extremists. In fact, we're going to listen to Kamala Harris react to the fact that the Democrats in the Senate failed to pass this bill that would codify Roe v. Wade into federal law. Take a look.
I just presided over the Women's Health Protective Act vote, and sadly, the Senate failed to stand in defense of a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And let's be clear, the majority of the American people believe in defending a woman's right, her choice, to decide what happens to her own body. And this vote clearly suggests that the Senate is not where the majority of Americans are on this issue. It also makes clear that a priority for all who care about this issue, a priority should be to elect pro-choice leaders at the local, the state, and the federal level. Because what we are seeing around this country are extremist Republican leaders who are seeking to criminalize and punish women for making decisions about their own body.
Now, the Democrats keep running this talking point about how most of the American people believe that Roe v. Wade should not be overruled. However, I would argue that a lot of the American people, specifically those on the left, don't really understand exactly what Roe v. Wade actually does. They think that if Roe v. Wade was overturned, that abortion would become illegal across the whole country, which is what the Democrats and progressive left is pushing as misinformation to their own supporters. But Americans' views on this topic are often contradictory, right? For example, 60% of American adults support abortion up until the first trimester, with 28% supporting it during the second trimester, okay? So the later on a woman gets in her pregnancy, the less that the American people support hitting the eject button, okay? But Roe v. Wade protects the right to have an abortion up until the last few weeks of the second trimester, which most Americans don't actually agree with, but they support Roe v. Wade, right? Which tells you that they don't really understand what Roe v. Wade actually does, right? I'm just saying, okay? Some of these polls are misleading, okay? So that being said, don't you find it fascinating how the Democrat Party all of a sudden has figured out what a woman is, right? They figured out what a woman is, okay? They put women's rights at the forefront of what they claim they're about, right? Of their agenda when it comes to this issue. Which means that Kamala Harris must be a bigot, right? It must be a bigot because according to the ACLU, this issue disproportionately affects people of color and the LGBTQ community as well too, right? And all these other disadvantaged groups. Okay, so Kamala Harris must be a bigot. And apparently she's been a bigot for a long, long time, including when she was questioning Brett Kavanaugh on this issue. Take a look.
You're not answering that question, and we can move on. Can you think of any laws that give government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm happy to answer a more specific question, but
Male versus female.
there are medical procedures.
Okay? That the government has the power to make a decision about a man's body.
I thought you were asking about medical procedures that are unique to men.
I'll repeat the question. Can you think of any laws that give the government the power to make decisions about the male body?
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
Yeah, again, I find it amazing how when it comes to this issue, Democrats clearly know the difference between a male and a female. Also, what I find to be fascinating is when the protesters, right, or when people that they don't like show up to the homes of Democrats, all of a sudden protesting at the homes of elected officials or judges or government officials or whatever, all of a sudden that's wrong. Kind of like what Joe Biden said back during the campaign trail when allegedly some Trump supporters showed up around where he was staying in Philadelphia. Take a look.
When I was here in Philly earlier today, there are 80 Trump pickup trucks with flags riding around my block, beeping their horns for a couple hours. They just shut down, they shut down the Garden State Parkway, blocked it. We've never had anything like this. At least we've never had a president who thinks it's a good thing. My granddaughter was showing me on the way here in the car a video of Donald Trump Jr. saying, keep it up. Find out where, I'm paraphrasing, find out where Kamala Harris is, and I think she's in McClellan, Texas. I'm not positive of that. Why don't you go down and greet her the same way? Folks, that's not who we are. We are so much better than this. We're so much better than this. It's not who we are.
Apparently, this is exactly who we are. Specifically, this is exactly who the Democrat Party is, and they're, in fact, not better than that. Because, again, fast forward to 2022, the Biden administration has openly endorsed intimidating judges, right, and protesting outside of Supreme Court judges' houses in order to try to get them to overturn a ruling that they don't like, okay? Now, again, Biden on the campaign trail, they didn't even show up to his house or anything like that. I think they just rode around the block, kind of where he was located or whatever. Allegedly, that's what they did. And he made a big stink about it, right? He said this is not right, okay? And that it is terrible that we have a president that endorses this. But again, fast forward to 2022, Biden is now endorsing the exact same thing that he claimed that was so bad under Trump, right? Again, you have to be careful what you ask for. The pendulum always swings the other way. That's just kind of how it works, okay? That's just kind of how it works. So that being said, in regards to the Democrats and their failed vote in the Senate, I mean, this was performative, right? They knew it wasn't going to pass. They knew that no Republicans were going to vote for it. What they really wanted to do was to put on record how many Democrats are on board with trying to codify Roe v. Wade into law. And Joe Manchin decided that, hey, you know what? I'm not on board with this. He claims that the bill goes too far in the sense that he agrees with legalizing abortion at the federal level, but he doesn't agree with whatever else is in the bill. Okay. But there wasn't anything that was going to be accomplished by this because the vote was always going to fail. Okay. It was a show that the Democrats were putting on. Okay. And they were doing this in order to try to appease the extremists in their party, who are currently, again, trying to intimidate Supreme Court justices while we speak. So with that being said, I hope that this calms down, right? I hope these people stop trying to intimidate Supreme Court justices. We will see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.